Hey everyone, it's Joe and
Scott, and welcome to the Criterion Connection. I'm filling in for Wade because Wade doesn't like these kinds of movies. I'm only kidding. This was a movie that I really wanted to do. When they described it, I was like, you know what? This sounds like one of those kinds of movies I can get into. So I offered to do it. I know these are the kinds of movies that, not the only kind, but these are some of the kinds of movies you like to watch. So it just felt like a good fit. And today's episode we are going to be doing the last hurrah for Chivalry. John Woo directed, 1979. Joe? I don't know what to say now. I was really hoping you could take the reins on this one.
Well, this is not your normal John Woo shoot 'em up that most people would think of.
Well, also because I don't think in the time period this movie takes place in, guns were even invented.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But this is basically like a 70s like wuxia movie, I believe is how it's pronounced.
I'm gonna assume so. I don't really know how the X is pronounced in Chinese. But yes, you are correct. And from what I've read, not a big hit when it came out. And I think from what I've read, a lot of it had to do with not necessarily about quality, but it was just kind of movies like this were kind of like on its way out. It wasn't as popular anymore. And so at the time it was perceived or probably perceived as, oh, just another one of these kinds of movies, been there, done that. Yeah. And with my experience with it, which is not very much, I like action movies, I like martial arts movies, but I wouldn't say I'm like knowledgeable. I've just seen some.
Yeah.
I can't say if that is true based on any kind of experience or anything. But overall, I mean, if it is, it was done well, it was shot well. Everything looked really nice. I'll put it this way, when they needed it to be dark, it was dark. Mm-hmm. When the colors needed to pop, they really popped.
Yeah.
It was just very, very well shot. A lot of the scenery was really good and interesting. A bit busy at certain times, but it kind of worked with like the setting and everything.
Yeah, it's very much like, I mean, it's a fairly interesting story with, you have a disgraced kind of lord or noble kind of house or something. Like, he has this big palatial kind of estate.
Right.
This rival family comes in, kills everybody, throws them out, takes back the palatial estate, and then he just tries to scheme of a way to get them back. He needs better fighters, and then enter our two protagonists, and
Chung and Sing.
Yeah, and they
who by the way, Pai Wei, who played Chung. Look, I'm not gay, but that was a handsome man.
Yeah. That
is a beautiful man. I'm just going to put it out there. If he's still around, anytime, dude. Yeah. Anytime.
So there are two like main protagonists, primarily Chung or
Chung.
Yeah, Chung.
The one who doesn't drink. Sing is the one that really drinks. Like, I'm serious. If you did a shot every time someone drank wine in this movie, you'd be dead.
Yeah, it's
a lot of wine.
Basically, there are two protagonists and the disgraced nobleman. Because I think the very beginning is like it's like a wedding, like a pre-wedding celebration or something, like a shower.
If it's not like a bridal shower, like a pre-wedding thing, it is the wedding. But I don't think it is. But what's actually really interesting about that is, there's like a conversation between two guys in that moment that you don't really think about until the end, towards the end of the movie, when like the real, like, because this movie has a lot of twists and turns, and I feel like if you've never seen it, it is kind of hard to talk about because you don't want to spoil certain things, because it's one of those movies where, it's an interesting story, but it's a simple story.
Yes.
It's just a simple story that goes in different directions and kind of like makes you think about things that you just saw in a different light once they happen. And luckily in some situations they just play the scene back for you.
Yeah.
So you could already make that assumption.
Yeah, and it's the fight choreography is probably the highlight of the movie, which I mean is not atypical for the genre.
I would definitely say so. I honestly, I think the story to me was more, because, like I said, it's a simple story that anybody could follow, but done in a way that it always felt interesting. It always felt like once a new wrinkle would come in, you start looking at people differently.
Yeah.
Motivations start to make a little more sense. You kind of understand, oh, that's why he did that. That's why he wants this. And, like, it makes more sense. However,
there's one...
I will agree with you, though. The martial arts is great. My only thing is there wasn't really a fight that stood out amongst all of them. And I don't mean that in it was just a bunch of fighting. It was just like, it was all so good. You can't really say like one was better than the other.
I do feel the fight between the two guys and the first boss, like the palatial estate fight, like when it's the 2-on-1.
The guy who's asleep.
Not the guy who's asleep. Even though it's a great fight.
It's a tie.
That's right before the one I'm talking about.
It's a tie between that fight and the one between Chung and the guy who was supposed to marry his sister, but for two completely different reasons. They were both kind of funny and action packed, but one was really played up for laughs.
But there's one thing in the story that I just wish. Like, I don't know if it was me and, like, I kind of lost interest or something and I missed something, but it's that love interest thing that went on. Remember where it's the girl who plays that, like, lap guitar?
Yeah.
And how both of the protagonists end up visiting her and talking with her.
Well, only one was interested in her.
Right.
The Chung was just wanted to hear her play.
Right.
Singh was actually into her.
But, like, the whole, like, I don't know, it just feels really out of place. Because it just didn't have much, for me, consequence.
I wouldn't say it felt out of place. I felt it was underutilized.
Yeah.
I think there was more you could have told. Especially when you factor in that, like, our main villain, after that opening scene, we don't see him for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
He does not come back into it. He's barely mentioned.
I do like the training sequence when he's in the rain.
Yes.
Yeah, he's so cool.
Oh my god, he's just ripping their armor off left and right.
Yeah.
No. The best part about all of that stuff is that moment where he's sitting down and the guy's like, he's giving him his wine, they're talking. He says something. The guy who gives him the wine says something that he doesn't like. He gets up, and when he gets up, the guy who's holding the umbrella for him, he tries to hold the umbrella for him, but he can't do it. So he gets on another guy's shoulders to hold the umbrella over him. And I was like, that is... And the thing is, if my wife, who I was watching with, did not point that out, I wouldn't have even caught that. Yeah. She pointed that out. And that's another reason why I like this so much, was because going back to how I said the story has, like, twists and turns, like, it hooks you. Once you meet, I think the moment Chung and Singh meet up, and you realize, like, these guys have great chemistry together, you feel everything. Yeah. Every time one of them gets hurt, you're feeling for them. You're rooting for them. You want them to win. You want them to succeed. And whenever there's a situation where you think, oh, this is it, they're done for, like, you really feel for them. And oh my god, it's like, without spoilers, I'll say there was one moment where I'm pretty sure my wife was about to have a heart attack. Yeah, she's just like, I'm just saying, if you can get her into it, you've done something right.
Yeah, and it really does, like, at times, like, it's, if you squint when you're watching it, you're like, okay, I could see kind of the John Woo, like, forming into what he's going to become.
Now, see, I don't know if you know this about me. This was the first John Woo movie I ever watched.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything to go off of. Well, and it's even more interesting because I didn't know he directed Face Off. Yeah. I didn't know he directed Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah.
And I've never seen those movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have any experience in any of his stuff until now.
The ones I'm more specifically talking about, like his later, like kind of gangster, neo-noir kind of movies.
I don't think it was much longer after this when he started really getting deep into that.
Yeah, this might have been a catalyst for that. But, yeah, it's more entertaining than I originally thought when I like first started watching, and then once you get into it, it gets way better.
Yeah.
Like once you start, when you meet Chung and Sing, like it just takes off.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those movies where it has so many twists and turns that reviewing it in our format is kind of difficult because I really don't want to spoil it for a new person. Because if I tell you all those twists and turns, you know, you might still like the movie, but I don't think you're gonna like it as much if you know certain things going on. I will leave it. I do have one thing I want to mention. I'm gonna keep the names vague so as not to spoil anything. But the real villain at the end of the movie when they're having the fight, there was something that kind of threw me off, kind of bothered me, and then I just said to myself, "Oh, you know what? That's probably why he needed the sword so he could do it."
The supernatural kind of abilities.
Yeah, how he's able to flies up the. It looked like the way they jump in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, very much.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, I haven't seen anyone else do this in this movie. So like, is he doing is this like some kind of technique? Or is this like some kind of like thing with the sword?
I think it's the sword.
Because like that's one thing.
Remember, he was looking for the sword.
Right, but they don't really specify what the sword is capable of, why he wants it so bad, why he would want it so bad. And so it kind of makes that element feel a little out of nowhere, but you know, not enough to where you can't just tell yourself, you know what, it's probably this because of the sword.
Yeah, but I think after everything we've said, and we didn't really mention the music, which has a really
my god, that opening and closing theme is an absolute banger.
Yeah,
I need that. I need that on a 7-inch.
Yeah, so
please.
I think the real question is, would you recommend this movie?
Absolutely. If you want to dip your toes into the action genre, any kind of martial arts genre, if you're really interested in getting into like Chinese film, or just if anything about the imagery or the fighting or anything interests you even the slightest, this is definitely one to watch. It's a simple enough plot, not boring or plain, a simple enough plot done in a way that is very interesting, and it keeps you guessing until the end, and you really don't know who you should be rooting for until the very end. A lot of fun. There's something for everybody in this one. I can't recommend it enough, honestly.
Yeah.
I might watch it again.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to agree. I'm going to also recommend, because it's easy enough to kind of pick up without any like wuxia experience. It's just very like, you find out who's good, who's bad, kind of their motivations, and then, you know, of course we have those cool story wrinkles that keeps you invested throughout the hour and 45 minutes or so of the whole movie. The fight scenes are great. The music they have for the themes is awesome. It's a really under like appreciated movie, I feel, until hopefully now that it's on the Criterion collection, that more people can see it.
And with new eyes, different countries finally getting access to this kind of stuff in later years, I think that definitely helped its availability and its reach and made people fans of it. And but yeah, so that's gonna do it for our review of Last Hurrah for Chivalry. Let us know your thoughts on the movie in the comments section down below. Don't forget to suggest anything else you'd like either of us to review, not just the Criterion Connection, but also other stuff for our various other review outlets. Yeah, like, subscribe, and until next time, I'm Scott.
And I'm still Joe.
And he'll see you later.